Okay. Kum Len of Lat Gemara, it's Erev Rosh Hashanah, Tavshin Pei Beis. We're in Beitza Daf Amar Aleph, the very top of the page. So we're talking about the contrast between the first day Yom Tov and the second day Yom Tov, and then we spoke about Rosh Hashanah as well, the first day versus the second day. So Amar Rava says, Meis be Yom Tov Rishon, if somebody is deceased on the first day Yom Tov, if the first day Yom Tov you bury him, is asku boy amim. You can have goyim burying the person. And in other words, even the mitzvah is not to bury the person. The mitzvah is the person should be buried. Because if the mitzvah is to bury a person, then you can't have a goy doing a mitzvah for you. But because it's the outcome of the mitzvah that is the main purpose, so therefore you can have a goy doing it for you. So you can have a goy burying, because the outcome is that the person should be buried. But what about Meis B'Yom Tov Sheni on the second day Yom Tov? He's Asku Ba Yisrael. Then the Gemara said that even a Yid should be involved, even can be involved, even though they're doing all kinds of inyanim, which are desecrating the Yom Tov. The second day Yom Tov, because we're all doing as a minig avasenu, so therefore we are lenient. Even the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, even the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Mash Ein Kein Bebei. We learned before when it comes to an egg, we ruled like Rav. That was late the first day Yom Tov, it's also the second day, because it's like one long day. But when it comes to burying a person, because the covered hameis, we're going to treat, as the Gemara will say in a minute, the second day Yom Tov like a weekday, and you can do it. When it comes to Rosh Hashanah, we did rule before by an egg that if the first day, I will come back to soon. Okay, says the Gemara further. However, in Herdoi says, they disagree. They hold that even on Rosh Hashanah, whatever's laid the first day is permitted the second day. They don't hold like Rav. They hold that Rosh Hashanah as well as the Sveik the Yema. The Madaitach. What is your view? Dilma Abri El, right? You're saying that maybe El turned out to be 30 days, and therefore they had to keep 2 days Yom Tov, because the Eidim, came very, very late. So they made the second day. So El was 30 days, and the first day of Chodesh was the next day. So the second day of Rosh Hashanah was really the first day. But they decided they're going to keep both days. So that's like a Vadeh de Rabbanon. I want you to know, Amar Rav Chinda bar Kahana, Amar Rav, Miyimais Ezra V'Elech, from the times of Ezra onwards, because in Ezra's time, it says clearly in Tanakh, they made El 30 days. But post that time, it never happened that El was 30 days, except for that one incident where the Eidim came after Mincha. So because it never happened, that it was 30 days, so therefore El, it never happened that there were 2 days and there was a Vadeh de Rabbanon. In Chutz La'aretz, the reason why they kept 2 days is purely because of a suffix. They didn't know what happened, and therefore it's like no different than the Yom Tov. That we that today, since we do know, if the first day is definitely Yom Tov, the second day is on because of a suffix and a minig. Therefore, anything that laid the first day is permitted on the second day. The reason why, if you don't, the second night of Rosh Hashanah, we say that you should have new fruit, because when you make a shechiyanu by Kiddush, or women who make shechiyanu when they light the candles, because it's one long day, it's questionable whether you say shechiyanu. But yet, if you say there's no new fruits, make shechiyanu regardless, and so why even bother making shechiyanu? And what do you mean make shechiyanu regardless? Because there's another school of thought, which actually is the halacha. The one incident where El was 30 days, the Eidim came late. In fact, which day was the day that's Mahatayra Rosh Hashanah, and which day was the Rabban? It was exactly the opposite of the way we had it. It was the second day of Rosh Hashanah that was definitely Mahatayra, because the rabbis delayed the witness's testimony, and we learned from the pasuk Atem Afilu Shegin Atem Afilu Mezidin, that the rabbis totally after the rabbis went to make a new month. So therefore, the second day was Mahatayra, the first day was Rabbanan. So the second day, they definitely made Shechiyanu. It doesn't matter that today was the Rosh Hashanah and the Rabbanon, but the next day came in, which is the real day of Rosh Hashanah. They made Shechiyanu again. So the only time when they really had a double day Rosh Hashanah in Israel, because of Avadai, they made Shechiyanu the second night. So halachic, and since the only reason why we're doing this is meaning of saying that we have to follow what they did, and they did make a Shechiyanu the second night. In fact, they had to make a Shechiyanu the second night. So therefore, halachically, even if you have no new fruit, and if you're doing tekiyas, you don't have a new garment, you still make a Shechiyanu. We're just being machmir that maybe that it's like one long day that we don't make a shechiyanu, so therefore we have a shechiyanu fruit. So the Gemara continues. I'm limiting this. When do you say that all of this at the second day the Yidden can desecrate the Yom Tov only that it's going to delay for a while? and we're scared that the body will decompose. But there's no delays whatsoever. Machinally, if it's no big deal, then you can wait till tomorrow. Why desecrate the Yom Tov? Rav Ashi disagrees. He says, even if the body will not decompose, it's covered hameis. Nami le machinally, we will not delay my time. And you know why? Yom Tov Sheni, the Gabi Mace Kechol Shavi Rabban. That the second day Yom Tov, as far as a mace is concerned, we'll treat it as if it's a weekday. And furthermore, not only for essentials, afilu lemegas like glima. Even if you want to cut a garment, we're not talking about tachrichimi, which is an essential. We're talking about an extra garment. Or lemegas like also, you want to put they used to put a myrtle, they used to put a hadas on the grave for a nice fragrance. If you want to do that, you can do that as well. Completely permitted. Says Gemara, Amar Ravina. Ravina says, but the Eden things changed today. Today we have we have a nation of evil people, and they maltreat the Eden, and they suppress the Eden, or they oppress the Eden, and they make us work for them all the time, constantly. And therefore, the Eden, when it comes to Yom Tov, we say, look, we don't do any work on Yom Tov, so you can't make us work. If they see us burying our dead and doing all of these things, they don't understand the nuances, and they're going to say, you do work on Yom Tov, start working for us on Yom Tov as well. So therefore, he says that today, the Ika Chavei, this nation of Chavei, that are terrible, Chayshinan, we are worried, and we do not desecrate the second day Yom Tov. We don't want them running around saying the same thing. Says the Gemara. So the Gemara concludes that today we don't. So the question is, what about today? After that, some want to say it's a Dover Shabbat Bezin decreed we no longer bury the dead on the second day, even with Yidden. And we learned before that if Bezin decrees, you cannot just overturn it. However, others say no. Here they clearly gave a reason that there wasn't just a universal law. They said, as long as we have this nation of Chavedim, we cannot proceed with this law, which means that today we don't have the Chavedim. We can proceed with the law. So that is a big machlekes as well. Rabbeinu Tam nevertheless said that Eden should not. Rabbeinu Tam holds that Eden are not allowed to work on second day Yom Tov, and he once cursed a whole city out because they were burying the dead on second day Yom Tov, and he said terrible thing will happen, and a very short time later there was a big fire in the city and all burnt down. And the reason he uses because a different reason altogether. The people, the average person in the street who's not a scholar, sees you doing a malacha and Yom Tov. They don't understand the distinction between a burial of a mace or malacha. They'll think, second day Yom Tov, you're permitted to do malachas. And there's certain things, even though the halacha says you can do it, you shouldn't do it in public. And therefore he says it is forbidden. His nephew disagrees with him totally, and he says that he said there's a difference. That he says, no, we're not worried. This principle that you say about Tamil Chami, we don't worry. For Haraya comes to Bishul Akum, the law is that anything which can be eaten raw, then if a guy cooks it, there's no real Bishul Akum. Now, not everybody knows that law, and the Gemara talks about what you're allowed to do from Tamil Chami or not. And today, we say you are allowed to. This is not a factor that because somebody might misread it, therefore I shouldn't follow what the principle is. Rabbeinu Tam and Rabbeinu Yechiel from Paris, they disagree with him. And Rabbeinu Yechiel says, what are you talking about? When it comes to Bishul Akum, it's in your own house. I mean, how many people see it? Talking about burial is out in public. And because you're out in public, people might misconstrue what's going on here. And then Rabbeinu Tam says an interesting thing, that even in his time, the Jews were generally allocated the worst jobs, like tax collectors. That became a Jewish job. And the most hated, most reviled people in any community were the tax collectors, and they used to avoid collecting tax on Yom Tov. But if they're going to see them working, burying, they'll give them government tax on Yom Tov themselves. So the same shas that applies then applies today as well. Being Talmud to argue, and in Allah as well, we have a big argument as well how far we take it today, and if you can do that, if you can wait another day, if you can't wait another day. What do you do? And the machlekes are b'chaber and the Ramah, how far we go. The Ramah is machmer. You even have Ramah Tshuva who wants to come out and say, I'll do it at all. So it's a big argument. And but the Rush talks about that if the person is somebody that everybody knows about, so when you take them to the funeral, everybody understands the reason why you're doing different things which you normally wouldn't do is because you're going to a funeral. But if it's not somebody that's famous and people say everybody doing things on Yom Tov we shouldn't be doing, problems can happen. So then there are others trying to say that today we live in, we're not very large Jewish communities. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody's aware that you're going to a funeral procession. So therefore, it's always permitted. Okay, the Gemara continues on this theme. Before we move on, the Gemara continues. The Gemara says it once happened that Ravina have a Yossi Kamed Rav Ashi. Ravina was also before Rav Ashi. It was the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Chazi saw Rav Ashi was not very happy, very content. Amalei Mayotzim, why are you depressed? Amalei said, why? It was Thursday, Friday, Yom Tov, and I forgot to do Erev Shilon on Wednesday, so we cannot cook to Shabbos. Amalei V'leisim Mara'ida. Why don't you make an Erev Shilon now? Because we learned that Miloi Amar Rava, didn't the Rava say? We'll learn later on. Miniach Odom Eruvi Tavshilim Miyoncha. If you forgot to make Erev Tavshilim, you can make it on Thursday. And say it like this: if today is Yom Tov, and do it again and say it like this: if today is Yom Tov, then tomorrow is a weekday, no problem. I can anyway cook and bake for Shabbos. And if tomorrow is Yom Tov, then today is a weekday, so I'm making an Erev Tavshilim. So you make an Erev Tavshilim on Thursday, you make this tonight. When does Rabbi say this? Din Mishnah Yom Tov Shagalis, ordinary Yom Tov, because it's fake of the Yom, and then one day is Yom Tov, one day is a weekday. But Mishnei Yomim Tevin Shel Rosh Hashanah Meyom. Remember we learned before, Rosh Hashanah is very different. It's like one long day. Therefore, you cannot make this tonight. Says he. So he said to Rav Ashi, "Amri Nadoi didn't Nadoi disagree that Av Beyim Muteres? He holds that Rosh Hashanah is no different than any of the Yom Tov. It's only a fake of the Yom." Amalei, he said to him, Amalei Mordechai, a student of Rav Ashi and a student of Rav Simi Bar Ashi, said to Ravina, don't ask Rav Ashi this question, but Rav Ashi, our teacher, told me, disagreed in the day. He holds like Rabba. So therefore, on a normal Yom Tov, you can make that condition, but on Hashanah, you cannot make that condition. Imagine even a great Amoida like Rav Ashi, and we're learning Gittin, there's nobody like him, that Torah Gdul of Makam Echad, that he's extremely wealthy and he's the most knowledgeable person. He made the Shas, him and Ravina and Mazutra. Nevertheless, he forgot to make Erev Tavshil. So now, even we learned, what about, and until now we learned about an egg that was laid on Yom Tov, and we gave different reasons why we decided that we're talking about a hen where the hen can be eaten, but the egg cannot. And we gave either Rabbah, because he says if it was laid on Yom Tov, that means it was formed the day before Yom Tov, and if Yom Tov was a Sunday, then it was formed on Shabbos, and Shabbos is preparing for a Sunday. We need a weekday to prepare. Only on the sixth day you could prepare, but not if it's a thing that was Rabbah, or because worried about the fruits that fall down, or the juice that oozed out. Says the Gemara. What about an Efroyach Shneim? The egg was there already, but the chick came out on Yom Tov. What's the law then? Rav Abba. Also, that's also forbidden. The chick just came out. While the chick was inside the egg, you couldn't eat it, so it was muktzah, and it came out on Yom Tov. It's too late, it's muktzah. But Shmuel, we eat him, but Rabbi Yechon, other Rabbi Yechon says mutter. What's going on? Rav Abba also muktzah, it's muktzah, right? The chick. Shmuel with Rabbi Yechon, mutter is mutter. You know why? While this chick was inside the egg, you couldn't eat it. It's a sheretz. But yet when it breaks out of the shell and it comes out, you shecht it, you can eat it. So now that it transformed itself, that it became permitted from treif to permitted, because now you can shecht it. So the same thing is, it transforms itself, it's no longer muktzah. It's like a new entity. Since it enables you now to eat it. But through shchita, it also removes that element of muktzah. Says the Gemara, because once it fixes in one area, it repairs itself in another area. And not only that, treif is also from the Torah, and yet it transformed itself and became mutter. So surely muktzah, which is under Rabbanan, it transformed itself, and now it's mutter. Amlin of Kader Rav so Rav Kahana and Rav Asi asked Rav a question. How come if you found if a calf is born on Yom Tov, you're allowed to shecht it and eat it on Yom Tov? So why, if the chick is supposedly like born on Yom Tov, why can't you eat the chick? What do you tell me it's muktzah? And when the baby calf was inside the mother, also you couldn't get to it, it was muktzah. Case already asked, what do you mean it's muktzah? You could have put your hand inside. You asked on the next piece of Gemara, but same idea. You put your hand inside and shecht it, but it's not the common thing. Says the Gemara, Amalahu, he said very simple. While the calf was inside the mother's womb, if you were to shechted the mother, it's a ben pkua. Anything alive inside the mother is part of the mother. It's called yerech ube yerech imay. It's part of the mother. You could eat it, so it was always edible. So the calf was permitted to be eaten before, and now that it's born, you can continue eating it. But Rav says when it comes to the chick, while it was inside the eggshell, you couldn't eat it. It was a sheretz, and therefore it was muktzah. And now it came out. It's too late. So they said to him, okay, what about the what about a calf that was born from a treifa mother? The mother, even though it was a cow, was treif, to be treif. So when you shechter the mother, it would not have permitted the baby calf at all. In other words, even though we say uber yerich imoy in certain respects, you shech the mother and it's all right, then the calf is permitted. But if you shech the mother's treif, it doesn't render the baby calf inside treif. Then we'll say that uber is not yerich imoy, it's not part of the mother, it's independent altogether. All it needs is his own shchita. In that case, the din is you're allowed to eat the calf. So it was not permitted before. You couldn't have eaten it before. Now you could. So why is the chicken any different? That's the question they asked Rab. Shasig Rab. Rab was quiet. And Chassidus always uses this as a proof that in the level of intellect, there's a certain level, the highest level, where you have a gut feeling this is right. You know it makes sense, but you just can't articulate it. You can't explain it all the way. And Rab didn't change his mind. He maintained his opinion that the chick is forbidden. And even though they asked him a solid question about this, how is this different in the case of the calf born from a treif mother, he didn't answer it, and yet he maintained his opinion. Says the Gemara, Rabba said, or others say it was Rabbi Yosef, my time is Shasig Rabba. I don't know that Rabba could have answered very easily. Lamely, you say, you want to know the difference between a calf born to a treif mother and a chick from an egg? I'll tell you the simple difference. True, the mother was treif for you, the person couldn't eat it, but it was suitable to feed to your dogs. So since it was not muktzah, the cow, because even though it might have been treif, you could use it for yourself, you could have given it to your dogs. But in the case of the egg, a dog can eat a hard shell egg, so nobody would eat it. It has no use at all. So it's totally muktzah. Very different. That's why the chicken emerged on Yom Tov. You cannot eat it. Abaye said to him, he turned to either Rabbi Rabbi Yosef said, I don't understand what your question is on Rabbi. He didn't answer. It's very different. He said, look, Hashta, I'm going to prove to you in a minute that Muchen la'adam. If let's say something was suitable before Yom Tov for a person, we don't automatically say that was considered suitable for your animals, and we'll say it's considered muktzah as far as your animal is concerned. So surely, if something was suitable for your animal, it's not suitable for a person. So what if we can feed it to your dog? But for you, myself, the cow was treif, it's not suitable. So the baby calf is muktzah. And yet, if it was born on Yom Tov, you can shecht it. So the same thing. The chick is a good question on Rav. And how do I know that? We learned in the Mishnah, one opinion says, you're allowed to cut the gourd family, the melon before the behemoth, and the bela. If an animal died on Shabbos or Yom Tov, and you can actually give them to feed to the dogs according to the opinion. You can feed it to the dogs because they don't hold the muktzah. However, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, since Friday night it was not suitable for dogs, right? Friday night it was a live animal, and then it died on Shabbos. Since it was Friday night, it was only suitable for people, not for dogs. So it's muktzah. So you cannot eat on Shabbos, obviously. Nor can you give it to your dog, because as far as your dog is concerned, it was muktzah. You never had it in mind for your dog. So we see that something was suitable for a person is still muktzah for an animal because it wasn't suitable for an animal. So surely something which is merely suitable for an animal is muktzah as far as the person is concerned. Rabbi Yehuda says, Im la hoisen avelam erev Shabbos. If, let's say, the animal was alive right before Shabbos, asud, it is forbidden on Shabbos if the animal died to feed it to your dog because he believes in muktzah, and just because it was suitable to you, it doesn't make it suitable to the dog because it wasn't ready for the dog. So we see that if something is suitable for a person, yet since you want to feed it to your dog and it wasn't suitable for your dog, we consider it muktzah as if it was removed from your mind as far as the animal is concerned. Surely muchel leklavim have muchel adam. If you're telling me it was only suitable, the animal was treif for cows, it was only suitable for your dogs. You want to say that that's why you're allowed to eat the calf because it was suitable for your dog? Of course, it doesn't work that way. Rabbi says, or Rabbi Yosef responded, or Rabbi responded, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Abaye. Yes. Just if it's suitable to a person, it's not suitable for a dog because you don't give it to the animal. But something that's suitable for your animal, even you're always thinking about it, and therefore it's never totally removed from your mind, and it's not muktzah. Yes, Ini says, you're right. If it was suitable for a person, it doesn't make it suitable for a dog, and therefore if the animal dies on Shabbos, you cannot feed it to your dog. Why? Since when something was suitable to me, I wouldn't think about giving it to my dog, just for me. But something that's suitable for your animals, it's still considered as if it's suitable for you as well. And why is that? The diet to the inish are committed to chazle. A person's mind is on everything that's suitable for him. Says in Tanya Kavos the Rav. Tanya Kavos Shmuel. We learned like Rav. We learned like Shmuel. We learned like Rav. Egel Shenoiled be Yom Tov. If a calf was born on Yom Tov, we learned like Rav that says that the chick is forbidden. It says in the Beitza, a calf that's born on Yom Tov permitted. If the chick emerged from the shell on Yom Tov, it is forbidden. It is forbidden. What's the difference between the calf or the chick? The case of the calf, it was always suitable for you because it could have shafted the mother, and this would have been inside the mother, would have been allowed to be eaten. The mother. But over here, the eggshell itself, it's a sheretz inside the eggshell. And therefore, it only became permitted on Yom Tov, and that's forbidden. He was born and emerged on Yom Tov. Tanya Kavase the Shmuel, because it's muktzah. Tanya, we learn like Shmuel v'tem Rabbi Yochanan. Egel, now we learned in the Beitza like Shmuel or like Rabbi Yochanan. That says the other way around, that this chick is permitted, and Yom Tov is not muktzah. Why? Because they say when it came to the chick, since it was treif till now, and yet now that it emerged, you can shecht it and become kosher. So surely now that it emerged, the muktzah is worn away as well. A chick that was laid on Yom Tov, it is forbidden, like Rav said, because it is muktzah. It's muktzah. And it was before Yom Tov, it was an eggshell, it was a sheret, so it was muktzah, and now it's still muktzah. Rabbi Yaakov says, Rabbi Yaakov takes a step further. He holds that even in the weekday, forget about Yom Tov Shabbos. He holds that a chick that emerged from an egg, you're not allowed to eat it the first 24 hours, as long as the eyes are closed. He says it's still considered a sheretz until it can see its way around. Its eyes hasn't opened up, and that's still considered a sheretz, like it's still a creeper crawling. So who's author the following Beitza where it says anything that crawls on the ground you're not allowed to eat, to include. It says anything. What do you else including? The Torah delineates a number of shruts to include these chicks the first 24 hours or so while the eyes haven't opened up. That follows the view of Beitza Daf. Came along Rav Huna and said the name of Rav, a cryptic statement, and I'm going to try to work out exactly what he's saying. Beya, he says an egg, he says an egg, when it emerges, is nigmara. That moment is when we say the egg is completed. That moment, the egg is completed. Those words he said. We're not sure what he means by that. He said when the egg comes out of the hen, that's when we say the egg has been completed. My image as if to say, but prior to that, it's incomplete. So what's he trying to say? Is he trying to say that one of the ironies is that milk, dafka, comes from an animal, and you're not allowed to have it together, but yet dafka comes from an animal, and an egg comes from a chicken. And yet the egg, you're allowed to drink with milk, you're allowed to eat with milk, and the chicken you're not allowed to. So is he trying to say, when the egg emerges from the chicken is laid, then you're allowed to have it with milk, because it's an independent existence, you're allowed to have it with milk. But what he's trying to say, in contrast, while the egg is still inside the mother's womb, then even though it's in the form of an eggshell, that perhaps you cannot eat it with milk. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that the contrast you're trying to draw here? Well, Tanya, we learned even more than that. We learned that if you found an egg inside the mother, inside the hen, even if it doesn't have a shell around it yet it's not considered part of the hen, and you can have that with milk. But Tanya, you shechted the Tanagoyla, so hen, you found the completed eggs, you're allowed to eat it with milk. So why? We don't treat it as part of the flesh of the hen, we treat it as an egg. So we're talking about even if it doesn't have the full shell and everything else around it. It's only the yolk that's totally completed. And even though it has veins all around it and all kinds of arteries and so on, it's still permitted, it's not considered flesh. So what's he trying to say? That an egg, only when it is laid, is considered completed. When he says that is what? That when it emerges from the hen, it's considered complete. That's when you can eat it b'yom tov. It's talking about that the egg was laid a half an hour before Yom Tov started. So we're going to say if it was laid a half an hour before Yom Tov started, then it was already, that means it's completed now. It's not still continuing to develop. It's completed right now. So it was completed and formed before Yom Tov. So you're allowed to eat it on Yom Tov. Right? But if it, let's say, did not completely come out before Yom Tov, and it came out on Yom Tov itself, then we're going to say it was laid on Yom Tov and it's forbidden, because that's Hachana D'Rab. because you so what are you trying to tell me? But let's say you found it inside the mother's womb on right before then. If you found it inside the mother's womb, then the yontif is still continuing to form, and it's not yet complete, and therefore it's as if it's being formed on yontif itself. So the Gemara, and we need hachana the rabbi, we need to be completely formed in the weekday. Says the Gemara about Tanya, we learned a sheikh the Tanya. You have to Tanya much by finding eggs. Mutar lo yalad eat on yom tov. It's clearly allowed to. So you found the Bryce. It says you're allowed to. If you're going to tell me what's the problem, the Bryce argues. If you're going to tell me kamashlam the Bryce. Madaloy Ashmin B'Masnisin, that the Bryce is giving us an opinion that we never saw in the Mishnah, and that just the halach is not like these Bryce, because we don't find this anywhere. There's no precept for this in the Mishnah. And Rashi brings the Gemara, a famous Gemara, which says, "Im Rebbe loishana Rabchia menayin." If Rebbe didn't learn it, then how would Rabchia know this opinion? It had to be some opinion like this somewhere in the Mishnah. And Chassidim used to say that if Rebbe Leishana, if a person doesn't continue going to his Rebbe at least once a year, Chia Menayin, how do you live? How do you have chayas? How do you have chiyas? How do you have energy to go on? Anyway, so the Gemara says, Honami Tanina, we actually did learn it. It says, Beyish in our Mishnah. Beyish in all the Yamtiv. In our Mishnah, it says, when egg was laid on Yamtiv, Bisham says, Teichi Ladi, Bisham Ladi, they still say you're not allowed to eat it. And all they're arguing about if it actually emerged on Yom Tov. I can't believe but no, it was emerged. But it's, so we can infer. What about if you found it inside the mother's womb on Yom Tov? Then if you hakoshine, everyone holds that it is complete. In other words, they don't agree. They hold that even if you found it inside the mother's womb, it didn't emerge yet. It's still considered completed, and therefore it was done before Yom Tov. You're allowed to eat it. It's different than what you just said. If you want to argue, says no. That you want to argue, say that's not pshat na mishnah at all. That Basil holds. Not that Beishamai disagrees, and he said even late on Yom Tov you'll eat it. Basil says late on Yom Tov forbidden would also hold that even if you found it inside the mother's inside the hen itself, it's forbidden on Yom Tov. Why? Because maybe the egg is considered complete. The egg is considered complete even when you found it inside the hen, and therefore we are worried about Achana Derab. In other words, it was completed Erev Yom Tov. You said that the egg is not considered complete until it emerged, but maybe maybe it was already completed. Even if it's not emerged, it's complete already, and that's why it is also to eat if you shech the hen and you found these completed eggs, because maybe if Yom Tov would have fell out on a Sunday and the preceding day was Shabbos, it's as if it was completed on a Shabbos for Yom Tov. So why does the Mishnah only discuss an egg that was laid whether you're allowed to eat it? Talk a bigger chiddush. If an egg was inside the hen, the Basil holds still you're not allowed to eat it, because it was completed, before. But Haiditani know. And why does it say no? To tell you that even if it emerged, and everybody agrees that if it emerged, it's completed already before. Yet he said, I'm worried. If we'll know the Namashadi, tell me, we learned in the Braisa, if you found a Tanagoyla chicken, you shecht it, a Tanagoyla, so Motzah Babain Gemur, if you found a complete egg, Mutaras La'achal B'Yamtiv, you're not eating Yamtiv. So this Braisa over here makes a distinction between if the eggs were laid, that's when we have an argument of Hill and Shammai. And if the eggs were laid, and the reason why it's usher is because it was completed yesterday, and that means yesterday was preparing for today. And if yesterday had a Shabbos, you're preparing for Shabbos the week. It's a Yom Tov. But here this Mishnah says if you found it inside the hen is permitted, only if it was mani who's, but only outside is machlekes leiv sham is ill. So what do you mean when you say that it's only completed? It's only considered complete when you found it late. It seems that it was considered complete even when you found it in the hen. So you know what it meant when he said imitzias enigma? He said this is what he meant to say. Nothing to do with any of this. He's talking about an egg when it emerges considered whole. In what sense? But now it's able to have a chick. Now it's able to have the chicken come out alive. But if it's still in the mother's womb, as long as mother's womb, it cannot produce a chick inside the mother's womb. And might have committed. What do we need to know that for? It's not a science book here. Or when I into biology or the anatomy of a chicken. So what's the point? Sorry, when you buy and you sell something, that if you sell an egg that's already been laid, then the egg I know is possible to eventually produce a chick. But if you sold me the egg, you shechted the hen, you took the egg, removed the egg from the hen, that egg can never turn into that egg. The chick will never come out, and therefore it's you sold me a dud. That's all we need to know. So if I come to a merchant, I say I want you to sell me an egg that can produce chicks. You have to sell me an egg that was laid, not an egg, a whole egg that was found inside the hen. There's a guy, a peddler walking around selling eggs. The man who wants an egg that was laid from a mother that was making a lot of noise. In other words, gave the impression that this egg was laid. But so the guy went and bought it, and he was given an egg that was found inside the hen. And he found out. Also, the buyer went to the Bami and said, look, I was cheated. The thing was a mistake. They're giving back his money. Says Pshita, so it's a mistake. The guy said clearly, I'm selling you an egg that was laid, and this guy is saying, okay, I want to buy it. It turned out to be it was an egg that was not laid. So of course it's cheating. Pshita, what's going on here? I would have thought, I would have thought that this person really wasn't interested in raising chicks. But why did he ask for an egg that can produce a chick? Because those eggs generally have more flesh in it, and therefore he thought it'll be a better egg. Like free range eggs might be better than battery eggs. Why did he say I want a pachia? Why did the guy because it has more flesh, it's more ready. That's what he wanted. So therefore, it's a difference. So the fact that he still cheated me, what's the difference? In that case, he didn't really cheat me. I just wanted something better. He gave me something which is less quality, so lesser quality. So therefore, you don't have to reimburse me all the money. You just have to pay me the difference between a grade A egg or a grade B egg, and which is very different. Commercial comes to teach you that's not the case. And the Shember say that what we learn from here is an interesting thing. What the discussion in Gemara really is why do you have to give me a reason because of mekach tas? When a bezdin gives out a psak, if the psak is something which is like unique or something that is not readily understood, then the bezdin has to explain the basis for the psak. But if the psak is obvious, they don't have to give any reason. They just say you owe the money and that's it. So why do they have to say the reason is because mekach tas? You just said give the guy back his money. We know why he's giving back the money. He asked for one thing, he gave him something else, and you cheated him. Why did you have to spell it out? More answers because it's not so obvious. We would have thought that the guy didn't really want to raise chicks. He just wanted to have a better egg, and therefore just have to reimburse the difference. So Chacham had to explain why they said, give us back the full money, because this is treated like a full mekach tas. A similar story, and we'll finish with that. Who wants to have an egg that was born naturally? The Safna gave him an egg that didn't come from a male, from a rooster, but rather it came from the hen, becoming warm, and like a battery eggs. So they're not natural. And also the comment about me, he said I was cheated. I asked for a natural egg, an organic egg, and he gave me a free range egg, and he gave me this. So the rabbis ruled it's a mistake, giving back his money. Obviously. No, really makes no difference. He just wanted to eat it. He thought that the eggs, he wanted these type of eggs, the eggs are better quality. What's the difference? At the end of the day, he was cheated. You don't have to reimburse the full money. You can just give him the difference between the better quality eggs and the lesser quality. That's not how it works. That you have to reimburse them totally. Okay, everyone should have a